Hey, my name's Shawnshawn. I sell art on shawnshawn.co. Today we're going to react to Patrick Okrasinski. So he is an artist. He has on the top just a picture of him painting in the background, so you know it's a painter. So that's pretty clear message about what this is about. I might want to use just a snippet of what he's painting in the outdoors and then a real painting in the background. But this is a really good shot, so kind of up in the air about that because people might think it's photography, but he is painting, so I think it's clear he's painting. But a little more subtler than just having a painting with a face there, so, but a nice way to shoot it. On his shot, he has a picture of himself, background in blur, so that's a really good effect. He isn't really smiling, so I would probably say smile is going to be a stronger way to sell the work. He has at the top an intro, one of his paintings, how to start a plein air painting, so that's really strong. And then he has shorts, which are usually the more popular things nowadays versus videos, and he has videos. Since he has, I think he has 137 videos, so you probably have popular videos here and then videos. So popular videos, if people see that first, they're gonna just link in and see a lot of those and kind of binge watch, hopefully, and increase your viewers, because most people that come to your channel are gonna be 70-80%, even 90% new, so you want to probably put that first. So going to the first video, it is called Don't Mess Up How I Start a Plein Air Painting.
I realized early on that how you start a painting will either set you up for success or failure. There's some core principles that I try to keep in mind when I begin a painting. This is what that looks like. First, your equipment isn't your be-all end-all, but it definitely helps. I've gone through a number of plein air easels, and this right here is my favorite setup for when I'm working on something bigger. It's called a Gloucester easel.
So this is a really cool setup. He actually comes out of the car, so it really sets the stage for a plein air painting that you come from the car. Obviously, you don't have to necessarily show the journey, but you could have added the journey too, driving through the mountains, trying to find it on a map or something. Add a little bit more, but I think that's a really good start. Let's keep going. I'm gonna skip more ahead towards painting part.
I'm taking out my brushes. Once again, I already have a little bit of paint from earlier in the day, so I'm just gonna grab what I have. The color that I'm using actually isn't that important. It'll get painted over. What is important right now after I've set up for a painting is to figure out the design and the composition of my painting. I already have a good idea mentally of where I want the placement to be of this big mountain. That's what the painting's gonna be about.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty
am fitting it on the canvas
strong.
and making sure that the top of it and the
Just
bottom
figure out
of
your
it
composition
are gonna
lines
fit
first.
and they're gonna take up most of the space. Next, I actually have to work a little bit on the drawing of it. So I have the most basic proportions, the top and the bottom, and I'm using that to figure out the widths. And now that I have two reference points, I'm able to measure up against each other's. I'm looking a lot about the positive shapes and the negative shapes.
So I think that's good. Like, gonna get more into the block part.
First, the biggest shape of all is the land versus the sky, and that's what my contour was so important. But next, you see the difference between the mountain, the bottom plane, and then different faces on the rock, like the little debris over on the right-hand side.
It's interesting he hasn't really painted in the sky yet. He's just blocked in all the rocks, which obviously is the main feature here, but I would do probably both at the same time.
Opposed to the large slanted base right before it becomes very upright towards the top. In the beginning of this video, I was very much compartmentalizing the different aspects of painting. I was focusing on the drawing in and of itself, and then I was focusing on the composition in and of itself, and then I was focusing on mixing and getting the accurate color in and of itself. But at a certain point in painting,
so at this part with the sky, I would just use a bigger brush. It's just faster. You can kind of use a brush probably maybe this big, maybe 6 or 7. Like, he's using a really tiny brush, which is fine if you're doing the detail work of the sky. But if you got a big kind of bland sky, you can just use a really big brush and kind of big brush stroke it in. You can actually leave the big brush strokes in if you want. That looks really nice unless you're going to add some fine details to the clouds. But I'm not sure on his sky. I'm going to skim ahead here, guys.
Some of the angles and refine some of that drawing. And so this becomes a much less interesting part of the painting, but it's the very small things that begin to add up. I'm taking my palette knife and going back in and
Your
applying
rocks are
some
really
different
challenging to figure out.
textures to the painting. At a certain stage, after you have blocked everything,
It reads
in,
really
you
well,
start
too, as far as
considering the
realistic
texture
color
and the material of what it is you're actually trying to paint, and focus on representing that. And in this case, it's a rock. What I'm trying to do in every painting is to find a way to translate what I am visually seeing, something that is three-dimensional, into something that is two-dimensional in a painting.
Nice changing up the camera angle. The sky is amazing. I'm surprised he's not
comes to
painting those differences. Let's go closer to the end, guys.
Of the rock.
So he's losing light
I was
here.
lucky with his painting because the lighting was fairly consistent, but at this point it was fading really fast. A few hours to work on a painting isn't much, especially when you think about all the things that there are that you can keep pushing and refining and developing your painting.
So what I would have done here is, like, when you start, just take a photo of a couple of shots of the scenery around you and do most of it plein air, and then just finish up in the studio versus paint it to the dark, because the light's going to change drastically. The shadows are going to be completely different. You're going to see different colors, so you can really screw it up, I would so to say, painting this way.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why this first session is what I would call a start.
So that's interesting. That's just the start of it. I'm wondering how it finishes, you know, because it's kind of like incomplete now at this point. You don't know if that's the finished product or not, or how he polishes it. The next video is called How I Paint a Snowy Landscape in Plein Air.
Snow is all about a really good fundamental understanding of angles. There are several main masses of color that a painting can always be simplified into. The way that I handle these changing light effects, snow painting in particular can be difficult because we look at snow.
So what he did there is kind of show the beginning, that you're in the middle of the painting, so you know right off the bat if someone turns on the video like, oh, it's about this painting, that the title is not clickbait. So that's why he's doing that. You might want to show maybe the end painting, like, oh, this is the end painting, and then switch to the beginning. Oh, let's get back to the beginning. I don't know if that was the best way to show that, but that's why he's showing it that way. Let's skip further ahead here, guys.
In a similar way to how I start a lot of other paintings, and that is with the drawing. So I'm taking for ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and I'm gonna mix up
paint so far away from
the
end.
color
I don't know
of
how they paint
that tree
way.
over there in the distance. I'm gonna start roughing in my composition. So I want to include a bit of the water in the bottom. So I'm gonna include the edge of the river. Just draw that in for now. And then I'll try to find the tree. I want to have the tree on the right hand side because it leans in on the left. So this sort of is my big composition of balance. When you have something lean.
The funny thing is, a lot of realist painters, when they paint plein air, they think you have to do an exact copy, but you can move all the elements around. Like, you literally can just use the trees and the shading of the trees as an example, so to say, and then change how they actually lay out in the composition. Take away trees, add more snow, move up the branches. You don't have to represent a perfect copy, which is kind of weird because you can use it for the color values. Definitely, I agree with that, but you don't have to keep the composition. You can actually change it. You can set it up where you want, which is comfortable, and then just paint it as you is. I don't know if this is the best angle because it shows him painting and explaining, which is great, but you also want to have a zoom in of the actual painting. Let's go a little bit further here, guys.
Here, that is in the foliage. The other big challenge.
Like, I would just have mostly that detail shot in the voiceover.
Is going to be how to simplify all that noise. That's constantly one of the big challenges in plein air painting. You look out there in nature. I must be looking at 100 different trees. Now, I don't have the patience to sit here and count each one of those trees for this simple plein air study. And also, I'm not sure that that would make it a better painting. I'm gonna take a whole bunch of cobalt blue. In the winter, the sky can often be so pure, it's really something special. I'm gonna mix in some cobalt blue, just a touch of cadmium orange. Cadmium orange neutralizes cobalt blue really wonderfully. And I'm gonna start hinting in some areas.
So, great detail shot here.
The cobalt blue is gonna be a lot lighter than all of the trees, so that's why I'm establishing it first. And then I'll be able to take this tree color and then mix back.
I think he's doing that in post-production, just cutting it in and then out.
More mixed in with these trees. So I'm gonna be fairly free.
Cameras to do this in the freezing.
And now I'm gonna take that same brush after adding cobalt to it. I'm gonna reach for some ultramarine blue.
Like,
it's a race against time when you're plein air painting, especially towards the evenings. So I'm gonna start sculpting and very carefully drawing the cast shadow of this tree. And there are some branches that I am finding, and there are also gonna be some edges that I'm going to just be losing. There are a million little
It's so annoying with
twigs,
it to shake,
branches,
but,
offshoots,
it's that setup. It's a one-pole
growths
thing.
of those trees back there in the distance.
It's a great setup for painting, but not per se
And
for
I'm going
filming
to
painting, I would say, because it has that
try
wiggle.
to find some of
But
those.
it is what it is, right? Because that's
Right
a little
now,
distracting.
one of the last
for a
things
painting
that's still
tutorial.
white that doesn't need to
I'm going to skip ahead a little more, guys, here.
be hit directly behind me. So sun is facing right there. I'm facing those trees. The brightest part of the tree is going to be in the middle.
Another real big challenging with filming this outdoors is you're trying to find the best composition for the painting, but at the same time you have to find the best composition for the video to film the painting. And that might not coincide. Like in this case, he has the sun behind him, so it's perfect. But that means his face is in shadow when he's looking sideways. When he's looking shadow, he's getting into shadow, so it's not a great face look. But you're really looking at the painting, so I think it's probably the best angle you could probably choose to film it, because you can get the straight on shot. I might do it a little bit more behind him because you don't really care what he's saying, so to say, to the camera. But you know, he's
Its
trying to
edges
keep
in the paint,
cohesion of that.
the value of it is going to turn. So by adding slight dark accents on the contour in areas such as here and other areas such as here, that really helps draw out the form. Color can be deceivingly simple. It's all about the value when you're working on a subject matter like this. Start using my brush a bit differently. I'll dry brush it to the side, adding a little bit more just abstraction in this painting. All right, going back into
He needs
these
to have a lot more
shadows.
blue, I think, coming through the branches, I would say.
Bit of white, a whole bunch of ultramarine blue.
Maybe he's going to do
Scoop.
that now.
I have a really big brush, but I'm gonna make some really small shapes.
It's a really nice shadow with the blue.
I'm gonna start chasing the light just a tiny bit. Adding some more of these vertical strokes for these trees that are catching.
I don't like how the trees go
sunlight.
up like even. It should be like more branchy like this in his painting.
Alright, but it's been a
I would
pretty
cut
fun
down the
sketch.
blue in
It's
more
getting
to the
too
depth
dark.
of that.
Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and catch you next time.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed that video, just
this
want to
is
let you know
nice.
it's part of a much longer video that's actually located on my Patreon. Or if one day you want to study with me in person, I have a mailing list just
Yeah, this is a really great ending shot as far as talk straight to the camera like I'm doing right now. It's got a blurred background, so a perfect setup composition-wise, square in the camera. You might want to be a little bit more bigger face, but it's a really good way to end a video. Let's hear this.
workshops. Whenever they're announced, you will find out first about it on my mailing list and you won't miss it. So sign up if that sounds interesting, but thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.
It's pretty solid ending. He doesn't smile a lot, but that's okay. Maybe that's just his style. This next video is called 3 Minutes of Seascape Plein Air Painting Secrets.
I'm here on beautiful beach in New Jersey. It's low tide, and today I'm going to be sharing how I paint a seascape painting in plein air, start to finish. When we're looking out there in the sea, it's always ever changing. So that means we can actually kind of make up the composition. I really like
Yeah, so he changed the camera angle there. You can see, so it's more behind the painting, which is probably way more ideal to capture what the painting's going to capture. This is a good intro, but I don't think you need more than just the intro part and then switch to maybe behind the shot, but we'll see how it develops.
the height of the barrel as I see it. I think I want to focus on the inside of the barrel and a little bit of shadow that's starting to form. I need to make sure I'm lightening it up a little bit, reaching for blue, reaching for yellow ochre, reaching for white. Ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna. Those three colors do wonders when you're painting water. When the water is shallow and we see into the water, it becomes very warm, it becomes orangish. When the water is deep, when it's far out in the ocean, that depth all of a sudden becomes dark. It becomes those
100%.
darker green
100%.
tones that we're seeing over there in the back. I'm pressing my brush in a very specific way right now so that the top edge is sharp and the bottom edge is soft. And that helps a lot with the form of the waves. How you hold your brush, how you handle your brush, that does a whole lot for us. The most impossible thing to do is to return a piece of the canvas back to white after it's already been dark.
Now, one thing I'll say about doing the waves, he's doing it how you would picture in a photograph, which is just sharp. So I would say kind of in a painting, I would leave it a little bit looser. It is good to get that kind of sharpness, but at the same time, then it looks more like a photograph versus a painting should look like a painting. And you can do kind of special things in painting with the brush stroke to make it feel like waves versus actually depicting an exact copy of the wave. So you can kind of, there's a little bit of play there, so I would disagree a little bit. Let's get more into his style here further ahead.
Of hue, saturation, value. I'm looking at a color, I'm deciding, is it the right value? Does it need to be lighter or darker?
Very nice colors though for the waves.
Top of the wave here, it's really getting kind of dark. I'm making sure that the overall gradient of the water going from the horizon line down, it comes lighter, but I'm making sure that it's dark enough just so that this really shines and it really feels illuminating. It feels a little purplish at times. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of my alizarin or quinacridone or whatever
Yeah,
I
right at
have
the
on
beach
there.
it definitely looks purplish. It's like the
Bring that down.
volcanic rock
Bring
is
on the
more
perspective,
reddish.
a little bit of those
So red with blue on
striations
top.
of the water.
you're gonna get that purple
Fractals
look.
are everywhere in nature, and fractals are shapes. And fractals are shapes that are self-similar, meaning whether you look at them close up or far away, they have a similar characteristics. And so the wave is fractal out there because from far away, the wave looks like a big peak. When you look closer at the wave, there are all these little peaks. Shadows actually lighten up over here because it's a much wider opening, all the light's sort of falling in here. There's something called occlusion in tight corners or in places where there's not a lot of angles for the light to be able to fill in.
He has a really good in-depth explanation of the waves. It's a very cool add into here because you don't really need to talk about it as a painter, but it really adds in the description of how he understands how to do waves, that they're this big fractal and then there's fractals within the fractal, which is a really cool explanation. Let's go further ahead in the video here, guys.
Hey guys, this video is part of an hour-long tutorial I made for my Patreon where I offer in-depth painting lessons and one-on-one mentorships.
To gain people that might be students, so it's a really good way to do a video as far as painting tutorial. That's probably your best usage of YouTube, doing painter tutorials. Let's look at his website now. It's Okrasinski.com, which is pretty strong. He could have added art after that, patrickkrasinskiart.com. I don't have it, so I've made the same mistake he has. At least he has the .com. Someone squatted my .com, so I couldn't get it. So at the top, he has a selection of his work, which is really good. It's a really nice layout. He has a holiday sale, palette box, selected works, portraits, about, contact, workshops, and mentorship. I might shorten this to just mentorship or workshops, and then explain within that website how to do it. Let's look at here. I guess you can just click these off the top, which is really nice. So this is previous work. I don't know if I would do previous work on here. Obviously, it's one of his stronger works, so you want to show your best work. But on the other hand, it's sold work, so the collector gets here and like, oh, this is a great painting. Do you have it? No, I don't have it. So it's just super annoying. On the other hand, you create kind of that, oh, I got to get it kind of thing. So, I don't know, kind of up in the air. How do you get back to the thing? So this does, it's weird because it grays out the back button here for some reason, which has got to be a little bit annoying to other users. Let's see if these are also, yeah, these are all, this is a previous work as well, which again, super annoying. This, I've never seen this where you have to erase part of the link to get back to the main page. It's really odd. So that's not a great functionality because if you have to do that, that's super annoying as a user. I don't mind because I'm just doing a video, but if I was a buyer, I'd be like, what the heck is this? And this is another previous work. So again, I would just get rid of all your previous work. Have it on a separate page, maybe if you want to say like, hey, what example might, because this is going to frustrate your buyers to just see previous work all on top here. Let's see what he has in his holiday sale. As past, okay. Oh, so you have to be, oh, this is pretty slick. So he's doing a collector's mailing list to get the first dibs on your paintings, which is a great way to use your mailing list. So it's only for your VIP kind of clients. So that's kind of slick. I like that idea. He's probably good enough that you can do that. You obviously have to be selling to be able to do this. So if you're not selling well, then I may not use that, but that's a pretty slick way to do it. He has the palette box. So I guess he was selling it. I don't know if this is, oh, so he designs it himself. It's a pretty cool idea to design it yourself, but that really takes away from, his own painting. Like I would farm this out if possible because he's a great painter. So I don't know if it's a great use of his time to have making customized painting boxes, but it's a good side income, so it's not a bad idea. Like if work's not selling, you can sell these boxes. So these are all previous work again, so that super frustrating because you can't see what his actual paintings are for sale. So these are previous portraits, so you know, he has an about page. So he's been in New York City, so that's perfect. You're born in New York City because that's one of the heart of the art world is like New York, Miami, London, LA. You want to be in those big art center, makes a huge difference on your art career, I think. He has his classic resume, which is set up kind of, if you're selling galleries, this is how you set it up, which, you know, his style work, probably he does sell a lot in the galleries. So that makes sense the way he set up the web page. It's, you know, obviously appealing to galleries. So that's, you know, it's pretty good. I mean, his quality of work, you can definitely sell it, but if you're not really selling to galleries, like you have a different style that doesn't appeal to galleries, that's not a really good way to set up your workbooks. But his quality of work, that makes sense to set it up that way. But yeah, just there's two tiers kind of in the art world. Like your beginning artist, kind of you're coming out, you might want to pitch more directly to the customer, but once you're in galleries, then you would switch to the gallery look only, maybe per se, if you want to go through them. It does let you then manage all the marketing, kind of get it sold, but at the same time, you might run into things where they squat the work, they don't make payments. You get some kind of quandaries with working with galleries at the same time. So there can be a lot of, you know, issues working with galleries sometimes, and it's great if you can reach out to your customers directly and sell them. But at a certain price point, a lot of customers like to go through galleries. So, you know, that's probably where he's at a really high price point. So you kind of have to go through galleries in a sense, or set up your own gallery. So, you know, I don't think it's bad to use galleries, but you do have issues working with galleries sometimes, especially like I've seen galleries go out of business and they just, you know, you never get your work back. So he has examples of his work, but he doesn't have the exact current work. You have to actually sign up for the mailing list to actually get the work. I don't know if that's the best approach. It sounds like it's a good approach. If he's working with galleries, maybe that's why. So he can send out a certain, you know, small works to his private clients, and then the big work he's probably going through galleries. That's what I'm assuming. Let me just look real quick. Yeah, so he's definitely in one of these galleries. Like Collins is the first gallery that comes up. That's interesting because here he has joined his email list to get to it too. So it's like, is the gallery actually selling this? This is pretty bizarre. Not bizarre, but it's an interesting way to pitch it. I guess they only had one work and it's sold. Although, so they have some work. Let's see. So they're not going to tell you the price, but obviously if he's in a gallery, he's doing pretty well. Very sharp work, very well done. So yeah, that's Patrick Okrasinski and his website. I'm not sure if I like that website, but he is at the gallery level, so he's selling through the gallery system. So if you sell through the gallery system, you definitely have to pitch it in the way galleries like it. Otherwise, they feel like you're trying to steal their business, basically, if you kind of pitch right off your website. So it's kind of like, it's hard to say. In the 90s, that was the only way to pitch it as an artist. But then once you had the ability to sell direct to customers, it kind of opens that quandary. If you're not at the high sell price yet, then you can sell directly to customers, which at a certain price point, it makes sense to just do the gallery only system. So I don't know which way is the best system, but I'm sure, you know, if you're in the gallery system, that's a good problem to have. Anyway, if you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you like to subscribe, you can subscribe below, and I'll see you in the next Artist React video. Thanks, guys.